This dude sucks. Zero upside. Hello.
Nice.
And welcome to Blue Jays Today, where we always got something to say about the Jays. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog.
And I'm your host, Adam Peddle. And today we're going to be looking at the Boston Red Sox, looking at their lineup, looking at the rotation, and looking at their pen. What do we think as Blue Jays fans? We're about to find out. But before we get into it, guys, if you want to win a Blue Jays jersey, make sure to use promo code TODAYJays and sign up to the betting app Monkey Knife Fight. You'll get 100% of your first deposit back, up to $50, and you'll be entered in our contest to win any Blue Jays jersey of your choosing, and it will be announced on opening day, April 1st.
That's right. About 2 weeks left, so get on it, folks.
Get on it. And before we also get into it, I just want to shout out Stephen Ben, our Patreon, for becoming a Patreon. Massive. So shout out,
Patreon,
Steven.
bro.
Shout out, Steven.
Yeah, thank you so much, Steven. We are obviously getting you on the show. $10 donation from Steven. So that is super lovely to see.
Absolutely. And guys, if you guys want to come on the show every Friday, we're having a wine on wine, come on in. Become a Patreon.
Let's talk Sox. Let's talk
Red Sox,
man.
Red Sox.
Alrighty. How do you want to do this? You want to go lineup first?
Let's go lineup
that
first.
That seems like the best way to do it.
So, looking at their lineup, Nick, let's go through it. Let's go from top to bottom by RotoChamp.
Okay.
Because I know that's what we use.
Yeah, that is what we use. Honestly, it is pretty reliable, I find. Like, I saw them, they were before anyone having Semien batting second.
Right.
And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? I was like beefing RotoChamp. No, I mean, it feels like they called it. So I got to give respect where respect is due.
Yeah.
So therefore, I will be going off of them. So leading off for the Red Sox, we got Alex Verdugo. This guy is kind of a love-hate, I know, from some Red Sox fans because he was he's an ugly reminder of the Mookie Betts trade. However, I really like him. I've kind of categorized these people as above average MLB players and below average, what I think they will do in 2021. And I certainly have Alex Verdugo at the above average standpoint.
Yeah, the last 2 years, an OPS of 827. That's pretty legit for a 24-year-old, man. That is very good. And could only get better from here on out. Guys, I know that you're upset about the Mookie, but Verdugo is a great replacement in that lineup.
Feels like he's got the tools to become an elite leadoff man.
Yes, he does. Absolutely.
Good batting average on that guy. Just overall, seems like he could be a nice 5-tool player.
Yeah. Great center fielder. You know, he's going to be playing there now that Jackie Bradley Jr. is gone. That was a loss for the Boston Red Sox. But I think it's good to move forward now, especially, he was a little bit older. And I think that as we're going to go through this lineup a little bit more, we're going to see that they're kind of going younger, trying to restart that. I was
noticing that as well, and it seems like Verdugo is, let's face it, much more of the future than Jackie Bradley was.
Yes.
So, like Verdugo leading off. I also, love, I have to love this guy because what is not to love seems like a very complete MLB player, and that's Xander Bogaerts coming in their second spot.
Oh, yeah.
Thoughts on that dude?
Absolutely. He's amazing. Still 28 years old. He's the cornerstone of this
Feels
future.
Like he's been around for time.
Absolutely, and he's been great for time. His OPS in the last 2 years is unreal at 921. That is amazing. He's the best in the last 2 years for this team.
Yeah.
There's nothing not to love about Xander Bogaerts, and even as well, the guy behind him, Rafael Devers. That baby-faced third baseman, also 24 years old.
Well, you want to talk about getting younger. I really think that those three guys are the faces of the Red Sox. Now, I know that I've heard some rumors about potentially shipping off Xander Bogaerts. I know that they were talking about that. I'm not going to speculate too much because I'm not an expert on this team. But personally, for me, as an outsider, it really feels like those three are your core. So you got Xander Bogaerts. He's a certified stud. And Rafael Devers, in his own right, I think is becoming an elite player in the MLB. Still 24, like you said. He did have a minor down year last year, but his minor down year was still a 798 OPS. So that's awesome.
It balances out in the last 2 years to 884, and if you gave Rafael Devers a full season, I have no doubt that he's going to be back up there again. He's just too good and too talented to go to the wayside just in that 2020 season. So I love Devers. And yes, he is the core, but one of these guys who might be leaving the team at the end of his contract And that is JD Martinez at the DH spot coming in after. What do you think about JD Martinez?
Dude, I still like him. I mean, I still have him as a, I know that he's 33 years old, and I still labeled him as an above average MLB player because you got to give respect to this dude for what he has done.
He's good.
And in the end, I was looking at it. 2018, he was dominant as hell. 2017, I mean, for years before that, he was dominant as hell. 2019, he was super dominant as well. And then he had a bit of a down year last year as well. Now, what I looked at was the hard hit percentage, because a lot of times with these older players, they like the hard hit, the slugging goes by the wayside. That wasn't the case for him. He just wasn't like really himself. It felt like he just got off to a bad start, never had enough time to rectify that. I expect a bounce back.
And he's been, well, I do think if he can stay healthy, because that's my one thing is that he's constantly dealing. I know in 2019 he was constantly dealing with back issues, and Red Sox fans, please correct me if that's wrong, but I remember him on my fantasy team just always being off and on.
True.
The DL or IL. But yeah, no, I still like him. He's still only 33. And for someone with that kind of raw power and that track record, you know, he reminds me not similar profile like Josh Donaldson, but where he's getting to the age like Josh Donaldson, where it's like now he's just a masher. He's still got raw power and that hard hit rate you're talking about. I still like him. And if he can give back at least 80% of what he did in 2018, he's going to be a solid guy in the number 4 spot.
Hell yeah, dude. 80% is still way better than most players.
Exactly.
I mean, I do anticipate a bounce back for him. The more that I was looking at the numbers, I was like, damn, I think I've kind of written this guy off a little bit too soon.
Right.
I think you're right, though. Injuries will be the case. Now, so I'd say those 4 guys, those top 4, I expect every single one of them to have an OPS higher than 800 this season.
Definitely.
So for me, that's an elite core off the top.
Yeah.
Next guy in their lineup is Christian Vasquez, and I kind of labeled this guy as a average to above average MLB player, and I do think that he's on the verge of becoming another above average, because he had a great 2 years.
Yeah,
right?
he's amazing in the last 2 years. 798 OPS. He's age 30 now, and I think you said it right there. He's an above average player because in the catching position, he's definitely an above average catcher.
Exactly.
Absolutely, definitely in the top. If you were to go all 15 MLB teams, he'd definitely be up there.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I like Christian Vasquez. Solid guy. I don't really have much to say to him other than good. he's solid.
He's also not super old either. You know, like I again, correct me. I think he's 28.
30.
My mistake. But still, that's right in the prime of his career. So, I mean, to have a guy at a catcher position who can also give you above 800 OPS, that's kind of a gift in today's MLB, because you really don't see that, you know? No one seems to have that. You got Real Muto, you got a couple other guys, but most MLB teams don't have that. So, definitely a nice player to have there. And then also, coming in at the 6th spot, they got Hunter Renfro. What are your thoughts on him?
Well, Hunter Renfro, you know, they just got him from the Rays. I mean, literally my thought is, okay. Like, he's a lineup filler. Like, his OPS last year is 749, 29 years old. He's all right. That's literally my only thought, dude.
Yeah, see, I think that he is an above average MLB player when you look at like some of the
serviceable
OPS and stuff. So I think his career numbers on the OPS is something like 790.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, he's gotten down in the last 2 years. It's going to be interesting. I mean, he is a filler basically in this outfield.
Is that true? Because I thought his 2019 was pretty good.
It could have been, but over the last 2 years, 749 OPS total. So I mean,
interesting. Yeah, I know that he definitely suffered last season, but I did think his 2019 was better than that. But so I mean, what are your thoughts? And you think
Okay. I mean, my overall thoughts. I was going to get to it at the end of this, but I'll say it now. My overall thoughts on this lineup is super top heavy, and then after the top 5, you could say I kind of fall off, and there's some potential guys, and we'll get to them, but after that, it's just kind of their placeholders,
right?
And this is part of the lineup that you can really, that's really vulnerable for the Boston Red Sox.
I think I'm like a tad bit higher on Renfro than you think, because I do think that he will be an above average MLB player next year from the numbers that I was looking at.
Sure.
But moving on, somebody who I do not believe will be an above average MLB player. I think he is a below average guy, and that's Cordero.
Franchi.
We're definitely butchering this, Red Sox fans, but
yeah.
I just haven't seen anything.
I don't know anything about him. I'll be honest. I literally don't know Dick. He's 26 and his OPS is, I've been just grabbing OPS. His OPS last 2 years is 777.
Right.
I don't know Dick.
Well, he just like hasn't I think that's one of the best seasons he's ever had. Like he really hasn't been good up to this point. Like hasn't really shown anything potential wise. So I wrote down he's still young. Yep. I mean, like he's definitely still young. Like correct. That was a T.O. thing. That was a Rowdy thing, right? Like a year ago. We would have said the same thing about them. He hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah.
But they were still young, and this guy could do the same. So I would say probably just a question mark, but I'm not expecting a whole lot.
Guy who I'm expecting a little bit from is in the 8th spot at first base is Bobby Dahlbeck.
Yeah.
Love that name.
Well, he's their number 3 prospect in their system.
There you go.
So yeah, and he had a 600 slugging last year. Granted, this is only in 80 at bats. But in 80 at bats, he was clearly awesome with that 600 slugging. Great on base, great average, great OPS, great everything. He's just one of those guys where we literally haven't seen enough. We haven't seen enough.
No, yeah, for sure. And being a pop prospect, a number 3 prospect, like he can easily move up this lineup. I think Rotochamp has him pretty low here. Like he could easily be batting 5th. Maybe with some injuries, could be in that top half even too. So that's one guy for the Boston Red Sox we got to be looking out for. We literally don't know anything other than that.
I think that guy is definitely a key piece for them, because if he does hit, if he continues off of his insane 80 at bats last year or does anywhere remotely close, then that's just an added like, whoa, where did this guy come from piece? And now it's like they have like 6 elite hitters that I'm like, whoa, wait a moment. Sort of thing.
They need some of that for their pitching.
I agree. and we are getting to that. And the last guy is Enrique Hernandez.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have him very high.
Don't have him. He's played on Kansas City. And he was 707 OPS.
Not
don't
ideal.
Really care.
Yeah, not ideal.
Moving on.
So all in all, though, I do think that this is a pretty good lineup. I think I think it's an above average lineup for me.
For me, it's top heavy. Like I said before, like I think pitchers are going to really find the outs in the bottom half. They're definitely going to have a lot of battles in that top 1 through 5, at least maybe 6, if Bobby Dahlbeck can like come up and be that like star.
Right.
So I think they're gonna definitely feed off that bottom half. If I were to compare it to the Blue Jays, I think we have more depth in them, but I think their top half is more proven and heavier. But we have definitely a lengthier lineup.
I do think that they have some stars off the top. Yeah. And I mean, if you were to tell me any one of those top 4 guys, like wins MVP next year, maybe I'd be a little bit confused about Verdugo, but I could still buy it, I could definitely I'd be like, okay, I understand.
Bogarts, Devers.
Yeah, Martinez.
Definitely Bogarts and Devers would be up there for sure.
I think that they are going to be studs for sure. So, definitely some nice stuff there. The question is, can the pitching hold up for this team? And I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I looked at them finally. I've only known their top 2, which is Avaldi and Rodriguez, and then taking a look at their other guys. I think it kind of reminds me of our pitchers a little bit.
Actually, it really does. Just, I think that they're missing the Ryu.
They are.
And I was looking. We're gonna break down these guys in a second, folks, but I was looking at their pitchers and I was like, man, if they had that Chris Sale piece, if they had that healthy Chris Sale, I actually kind of like this lineup.
Yeah, me too.
I actually kind of like this rotation.
They could be fighting for that wild card easily, no problem.
The problem is they're missing out on the ace.
They miss
So let's go through them. Who do you got and what do you think?
So we got Nathan Avaldi, as Rotochamp suggests, as a number 1. I would argue that it's the guy in number 2 spot. But regardless, Nathan Avaldi, his last 2 seasons, his FIP is pretty high at 5.06. But his ERA went down to 3.87 in 2020, and we got to see that Nathan Avaldi of old. So that's that question mark that's been lingering in the Boston Red Sox rotation for a while. And you're like, oh, here he is. Here it is. And let's see. It'll be interesting to see if he can actually repeat that for the full 162.
Yeah. I wrote down should expect a high 3 ERA from this guy.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of question marks.
Yeah. The question mark was the 2020 season. Like, even though he did perform at a good level. We still got to see it for
not a
whole
lot
season.
of innings, and it's like, and that's another thing for Nathan Avaldi too, is like, if he is going to be this ace, are we going 180? Like, how many times have we done that? Not that many from when you're looking at his stats, right?
Yeah.
So these are the question marks that will be answered this season. However, I do expect a high 3 ERA, like 3.8, 3.9, something like that. And then number 2, Eduardo Rodriguez.
Yes, Erod. This guy is probably the safest pitcher in this rotation, just because, even though he did break out in 2019, he didn't play for 2020, so you could say maybe there's some questions whether he comes back. I think the people who took off years aren't going to be hurt maybe too bad.
He was also pretty elite in 2018.
He was still true elite in 2018. Thank you for that. His FIP was fucking awesome at 3.78 in the last 2 years.
Good stuff.
He's solid. Like, if he was matched up like we were saying with Sale, that's an awesome 1-2 right there.
For me, and once again, I wrote down expect a high 3 ERA, will eat a lot of innings. I think that he's kind of like Nathan Avaldi, but with a few less question marks surrounding him.
I'm more confident that Erod would put up that high 3 ERA.
I agree. And that's part of the thing, is that I think that Boston has 2 excellent number 2s.
Yeah.
Both of these guys, if this was our number 2 or number 3 pitcher, we're fucking laughing.
Yeah. If we had Ryu and these two, ooh.
I mean, I would in the end, I would much prefer Avaldi and Rodriguez to Ray and Roar.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they'd just be better. So, but moving on, do they have anyone else that could even remotely fill that, not Garrett Cole, Chris Sale role? They got Garrett Richards. This guy is I just think that this guy is like a starter. He's a solid starter. I'm expecting something like a low 4 ERA. But the innings pitched has been very low for this guy. So
this is the part where it kind of reminds me of our rotation, where in from 13 to 15 years, 13 to 15, he had a 3.4 ERA, but then it has gone downhill.
Right.
And it's been like age and just, kind of like Rourke a little bit.
Yeah.
So that, in that regards, it's like another question mark. Can he give it one more year? And that's I don't know.
And once again, I'm like, I'd be pretty happy with this guy at my number 4. Like, if we moved him down like one spot.
Yeah.
It's like if we just pushed everyone down. So I do think that he will give a low 4 ERA looking at everything from him. But I mean, as your number 3, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's okay. So he's okay. The next 2, I'm certainly not very impressed with. They got Martin Perez, and then they also got in the last spot Nick Pivetta. And I put both of these guys as being below average for this coming year.
Martin Perez again had a great 2014, 2015 years. His FIP was 3.52.
That was a long time ago, Martin Perez. That was a long time. We are far removed.
We are FIP
from those years.
Our FIP now is 4.72 in the last 2 years.
Yeah, so. And I literally, I put in capitals. I was like, could maybe like, if he's doing everything he can, if he's giving it his all, get you a 4.5.
Maybe.
But expect like higher.
Yeah,
expect higher.
Absolutely.
I would expect a high 4, a low 5 from this dude.
Easy.
And honestly, I'd probably expect even higher from Nick Pivetta, because I was looking at it and I literally wrote down, I'm just like, this dude doesn't have. I literally look what I wrote.
This dude sucks. What's that? TVO? Zero upside.
This dude sucks. 0 upside. I don't expect a lot from Nick Pivetta.
No.
I apologize, Nick Pivetta. Go out. Please prove me wrong. We always encourage anybody who is a fan of their team, or anyone who we do remotely hate on, to go and shove our words straight in our face.
Please.
But up until this point, he hasn't really done anything to warrant being called anything, but a just filler spot.
Bad. I have nothing else to comment. And for those who are wondering about Chris Sale, they're going to be very conservative with him this year. Very much so, because if they are looking like they're not even going to be competing at all for a wild card, they're not going to rush him back. They're going to protect that man for the next year. So don't be expecting a Chris Sale comeback.
I heard earliest was, where did I write down? Earliest is June. Earliest return is like somewhere in June.
That's if he's like way ahead of schedule.
I expect somewhere in July from this guy.
I could even see August. They really push him back.
Yeah, well, and like you said, it all depends what this team is doing. If it's being competitive and they need him, then we might see him a bit sooner.
Yeah.
But I just want to look at that for a second, and then just if you had Chris Sale there, if you had Chris Sale doing Chris Sale stuff, like we know that he can do, I think that this rotation plus the lineup that they have, you immediately have what I would consider to be a playoff contending ball club.
You have a playoff contending ball club with your lineup and your pitchers. However, the one thing I'm worried about is the not the rotation, the bullpen. Bullpen is really not that impressive at all. It's really bad. It's bad. The rotation right now, their closer is Matt Barnes. They got him back. Who's okay. His ERA in the last little bit has been 3.92 in the last 2 years.
Quite ideal for a closer.
Not ideal for a top end closer. And then they did pick up Adam Ottavino from the Yankees.
Yeah, I saw that they got him.
Who I think is honestly better than Matt Barnes. His last 2 years of ERA has been 2.76. And then their other setup man, never heard of him, Ryan Brasier. His ERA in the last 2 years has been 4.57. As you can see, I don't need to go any further because there's no way that your closer and your two setup guys are going to be worse than other people in your bullpen. Those guys are your best guys. And Adam Ottavino is my favorite, but...
Whatever happened to Brandon Workman? Did he go to another team?
They traded him to Phillies, but I don't know if he's still there, but I'm not sure if he's still there.
Right, but, yeah. Because I remember that they had him, but I guess he's out of town now. So that's not ideal. They're obviously going to need to have some sort of breakout on that side of things. But granted, when we came into our last season, 2020, our bullpen on paper really didn't look that good, but we had a lot of sneaky performances that kind of came out of nowhere. So I'm not going to write a team off because, their closer isn't ideal. Because again,
depth in general.
Exactly. It's like, I'm sure that they have some guys like in the minors or in and around that maybe could take the step up. But right now, I'd say that they need a breakout there.
It's pretty bleak right now. So what I'm kind of projecting how Boston Red Sox games are going to look this year is, let's say they're facing the Blue Jays. I think it's going to be most of the time a big run scoring game, lots of runs on both sides. I think the, Boston Red Sox are going to smack around our half-ass pitchers minus Ryu, and then we're going to smack around their half-ass pitchers minus a couple of them. And then I think for Boston, what they might struggle with is when they get into the second half of the game against teams, if they've built up a big lead, is keeping that lead. So that's the only thing. Whereas us, I think we have studs in the bullpen in the back half.
We got a lot of depth.
Yeah.
We have a lot of depth.
We got Dolis, Romano, and now Yates. In the 1, 2, 3, and then we know we have depth with like Baraki and Hatch and Merriweather. We have so many guys that are actually studs in that bullpen. So for us, if beating the Boston Red Sox gonna be high scoring, and then who's gonna win in the last 3 innings?
Yeah, no, I still expect this team to be fairly competitive. I still think that they're gonna be good. I think they're gonna give us a run for their money, and I do expect them to be above 500. I think I put that in my projections. But I've never seen a team more. I guess it's more polarizing where like one player really does change my entire outlook of this team. And Chris Sale for me is that player for them. Yeah,
he wins them like 5 to 7 more games, roughly, depending on what his WAR would be.
And once again, if you had him and then you had Rodriguez and Avaldi and then Garrett Richards, following him up, I'm super pleased with that as my rotation, considering the lineup that I've already built. So. Yeah, no, I think that they're going to be good. They're not going to be better than us.
No, I don't think so either.
Not.
I had them at like 80 and 20. 80 and 20. Oh my god, 80 and 82 for my projection. So yeah, I think we're going to beat them in the series, but you never know what could happen. Ryu could go down. Oh my god, with an injury, and you never know. That's baseball.
And here's the thing, man. We're here and we're talking about. Being optimistic about our rotation and being like, we got to have some breakouts.
Yeah.
this team totally changes if Erod decides that, hey, you know what? Now I'm ready to become an ace here.
Yeah.
Or if Nathan Avaldi says, hey, wait, there's been some hype about me. I'm ready to finally fulfill that role. It completely changes. So I think that this team definitely has a path to win. Can they get the job done?
We'll have to find out, guys.
We'll have to find out.
Guys, let us know in the comments down below. If you're a Boston Red Sox fan, welcome to Blue Jays Today. Woo! Let us know, guys. What do you think about the Boston Red Sox? What is your favorite part? What is the part they're going to struggle with? Let us know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments.
Yeah, dudes. And you can also check us out on Spotify, Breaker, Anchor, Radio Public, and Google Podcasts. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, the whole shebang. And if you do want to win that jersey, today, Jays is the code Monkey Knife Fight. A singular bet will do the trick. Also, legal gambling age. Got to insert that. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, blah, 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 blah. Oh, also relevant. We're also doing stuff on there. And once again, shout out to Stephen Ben for the lovely donation and Patreon. It's awesome to have you, man.
Absolutely, guys. And if you want to become a Patreon, it's all in the description down below.
Heck yeah.
And also, guys, check out our merchandise. It's sold on Etsy. You can get a sweater. You can get a t-shirt.
We making money on that yet?
Not yet, but we are going for it.
We were actually in the hole. We had a couple people buy, and we fucked up the math. We didn't account for some taxes and some shipping stuff.
Some manufacturers.
So we actually paid to have somebody buy our merch.
Cody Mayo.
Yeah.
We paid for
it. We ended up paying to have them. It's a whole thing.
It's
but
okay.
I think we figured it out now. I think we got it under control.
And thank you guys so much for watching.
And go Jays, go.